And we've got post-game content for Ninja Gaiden Sigma to go through. This one is obviously way shorter. There's less really, like, because most of the new stuff that was, like, in black still applies to this. So as a result, even though I'm going to, like, kind of show that there's still the difficulty selection and stuff like that, there's nothing else really new or noteworthy that's added to the campaign in Sigma. It still, like, by and large follows the same rules that Black set in stone. Although, if there's one thing that does make Sigma a bit lesser than Black, is you only have 3 costumes.
Oh.
Yep, you lose the red muffler and you use the DOA outfit.
Do you get Ninja of the Future at least?
No, you don't.
Oh.
That is forever stuck in Ninja Gaiden Vanilla because, like, you know, I mean, that outfit was tacky as hell. But
it's like a football player.
Yeah, but we're taking a look at mission mode, not the entire thing, but only the stuff that is totally new for this version, you know? Because, like, the mission orders, the categories remain the same, but the stuff that's in those categories has been mixed up. So, obviously, you know, just to get more use out of, like, this burning building that was at the end of Chapter 2, you know, we got a little combat encounter inside it. And, of course, the game equips us with the dual swords to start because, hey, gotta make use of that new content somehow. Man, I nearly forgot about the dual swords' existence during this LP until getting to this point.
I did forget about them until I saw them in this video.
Yeah. This fight is exactly the same, like, in concept as the ones where you fought all the ninjas or all the military enemies, in which it is a gauntlet of 100 fiends in this tiny arena. Also, Gamov can be fought in mission mode as Ryu, and thankfully he is a better person to fight as Ryu than as Rachel, but it's still pretty lame, all things considered. I mean, even when you're able to get, like, full combos like that in, it still reminds you that there's actually not that much to his overall AI, and that it is still more efficient to just counterattack him to death. Also, we get to fight the motorcycle Sat soldiers. Because, again, new content. Can't make you forget that we put this stuff in, even if it's bad.
I forgot about these guys too. At least they're cool in concept.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically the military or riot police version of the Horseman Archers. And yes, this fight is dumb as hell. Alternator and Dynamo at once. And at the same time is the helicopter doing dive bombing runs in this fucking arena. I hate it. Stunned silence.
I don't understand. I'm trying to even remember where Alternator was at in the main game.
That was right at that area, like in like after Alma. But this, we're getting into the Rachel Rachel missions, which typically happen like at the 5th phase of each category. And as you can see, we got way more hairstyle options than we did get in the main campaign, you know? So you'll get to see a little bit of extra stuff, including different hair colors. You know, as you saw that on top of blonde, she also had a brunette-like color for most of the same styles. The only one that does not have a brunette color is the assassin style, which is based off of Christie from DOA 3.
So, should I call this Fashion Soul or Pretty Dress Up?
Just to avoid, like, any and all Souls comparisons, I'll go with the latter.
Yay!
Well, then, also, she's a lady.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, a girl does have to accessorize. I'm sure I'm gonna catch flack for saying that out loud.
So yeah, that fight that you saw was like pretty much all there was to it. I mean, there were some wisps that like would spawn in afterwards, and then this fight has you fighting against simultaneously a Gala, an Ogre, and a Berserker. In fact, as you kind of like notice, like with this one, this is very familiar with one of the missions that Ryu had to do, like in Ninja Gaiden Black. So that's kind of the weird thing when you get to some of these Rachel missions, is that the ones like where you're playing as Ryu, the entirely new ones, totally have new content, whereas the stuff with Rachel is like completely reappropriated from what Ryu already had to do in the last version.
It just kind of seems like, you remember when you did this with a character with a full moveset? Now try it when you're hindered.
Yeah, with a lesser moveset that, as I kind of found when I was like messing around with this character in mission mode, because I never really gave it much time to experiment in the campaign, is that there's like, I kind of actually underestimated like how many like of Rachel's combos actually ended in a state where she's kind of hooking the enemy's head on her warhammer and kind of like yanking it, you know? Like, besides the, you know, the usual kind of flip over the shoulders. And it kind of, like, at first it was like, oh yeah, I forgot that there's all these extra moves. But then I was reminded immediately why they felt useless, or maybe not so much useless, just not as fun to use, is how heavily scripted looking that those, like, finishers look. Because they all have, like, these, like, pre-scripted dynamic camera angles that are always used to typically accompany ultimate techniques, which are, as you know, they are filled with invincibility frames. So when you see that, it's basically an indicator of, hey, you're safe from damage, look at this cool thing. And the idea of having that done constantly by using full combos, I think actually makes me like her moveset here way less. Especially because it reminds me a lot of the shit that was pulled in Ninja Gaiden 3 original, with like certain moves that were just treated as normal in the first game, having like special like cinematic priority or QTE button mashing bullshit. And yes, you even have to fight against Doppelganger Ryu, like with Rachel, which is like, and it's not obviously just reserved for like Ishitaro Nikkei or Gamov, which were the major fights she had to do back in the campaign. Like, every boss fight that Ryu faces in the game, any time Rachel has to face them, it is terrible. Like so. This one is in mission mode. I figure I might as well have shown this again. I was tempted, just as part of the joke, to just have Rachel stand there and just take all the hits, because just to kind of showcase how much apathy I had towards this concept. But I figured, I mean, I don't know, that probably would not have been sporting of me.
You still did a good job at recreating that cutscene from the last video.
So, like, in mission mode, those are all the new missions for both Ryu and Rachel, basically, but there's actually like more to it, like overall, actually. See, well, yes, this right here is one of Sigma's kind of exclusive things, and it's not even available on the main disc. Survivals is like a series of 3 small and cheap DLC packs that are like additional missions with their own rule sets. They work differently than what you get in mission mode, where it's like kind of trying to get like the best time and overall score, like in the way that you would know how to in Ninja Gaiden. So there's categories of weapon speed and Rachel master.
Master your weapons, master your speed, master a human.
I do like the splash screen, at least. Like this is like some original artwork that's pretty cool. So, Weapon Master gives you only one weapon that you have to use to carry yourself for as long as possible.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
It is neat, and like for Weapon Master and Speed Master in particular, I'm only going to show one of these all the way through, and the rest I am just going to show snippets of, because we already know how the regular missions are supposed to work anyway, that I might as well like take this time to actually kind of explain what the major differences are. Okay. So, first things first. Obviously, with Weapon Master, you're limited to one weapon, and the enemies still release essence as they normally do. However, there's a change when you use ultimate techniques on an enemy. Notice that giant blue orb of essence right there. Now, jog your minds again about like the rules of Ninja Gaiden play. When killing an enemy, they obviously release essence, usually yellow, but sometimes there's the occasional blue or red. When you get combos over 20 hits, or hit them with an essence or ultimate technique, the essence they release is always yellow, but at an increased value than what they would normally give you were to kill them in one hit. The survivals mode missions, they changed the rule about enhanced and ultimate techniques completely, so that they will always release blue essence. So that means, like, if you were playing the main game, if you were trying to effortlessly, like, quick chain, like, ultimate techniques together, you would have to try and, like, kill more than one enemy at a time so that they'd release 2 yellow orbs and then absorb it to repeat the process. Here it's simplified so that it's like, if you're able to just kill one enemy with a fully charged UT, or not even that, just an enhanced technique, you get the blue essence right there, and then you can just, like, maximize, like, the amount of karma points you could get against a single person, because you always get a point bonus for every UT or ET unleashed. And the weirdest thing about it all is that I kind of don't mind it. Only because of how it is, the context of these missions, even compared to mission mode, is very different. Because, you know, the name of it is right on, like, on the title of the mode. It's survivals. You're not aiming to complete in the fastest time possible. You're just trying to, like, go as long as you can. So, after fighting the first 29 enemies in this, a boss appears, and it's always a different set of bosses for each mission. But in the case of this, it always starts with Doku. And as you notice, my hits are doing extraordinary damage when they land on it. And it's not just because I'm using the dual swords, you know, because like you fight these bosses like in other survival missions, and like even the weapons that you're given for those still deal a whole lot.
Is this pretty much like the Bloody Palace mode from Devil May Cry, kinda?
It's,
or like does it end ever, or does it just keep going until you die?
So, I mean, like, it's not one-to-one to Bloody Palace. I mean, Bloody Palace obviously had an end, but the way it was is that, like, the waves of enemies you fought were always, like, each wave was dedicated to one floor, so you always had a bit of reprieve once you finished that first wave. Okay. Here this stays more true to what's like in the mission mode, in which it is just constant offense from all the enemies. Even when you destroy like an entire wave, like the most reprieve you get is like a second. So it's not exactly like the same. I mean, the point of Weapon Master is that you go until an enemy or a boss kills you. At that point, that becomes your score. Like, the more enemies you have killed, and like the higher your time bonus is, then like that's gonna like determine where you place like score-wise.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's part of why I'm actually okay in this context with ultimate techniques and enhanced techniques giving you blue essence instead of yellow. Because the idea is that you're trying to survive for as long as possible, and because these modes, like these challenges, are supposed to go on for like as long as possible, like it only makes sense from a design perspective that as you start repeating encounters, that the enemies would actually start to take a buff in attack power, which would make like getting an ultimate technique off on an enemy for a huge chunk of blue way more valuable than it would be otherwise.
Do enemies always come in the same order in this?
They do. I mean, and that's kind of like why I'm basically like showing this this mission all the way through, like until the point I die, which is actually right before the game would have started looping all the enemies and bosses. Because the way it's set up, at least here, I don't have it all off the top of my head for the other Weapon Master challenges, but all these regular weapon encounters spawn in the same order. And the bosses you fight, there are three bosses in this mission that always appear at the same intervals. Just waiting that guy to...
Yeah.
Because it was something that I never realized or even came across, like, during the main campaign, is that... Because when you fought the regular ghouls, they just have, like, whenever they swung their weapon, it was always, like horizontally, it was always swung in one direction, and that was it. But as you saw, like the mutated military soldiers, like they'll swing their giant bloated bayonet axe things like 3 times and swing it all the way around, which makes it hard to approach. That said, I am like fairly impressed at like how far I was able to take myself in this mission, considering how like uncomfortable I am with the dual swords in Sigma. Even though, like, compared to like what you're capable of doing with these weapons in Ninja Gaiden 2, where they're more fleshed out. But second fight right here is Alternator. I have no idea what the hell even happened there. But this is also a good thing that I have the dual swords, because I can just spam 360 triangle attack. He'll stop charging me. So that's 70. And then the third boss fight is going to show itself once I have killed 99 total enemies. And yes, that is going to be the moment at which I die during this challenge. And it's annoying when those whiff with the dual swords.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to have a whole lot of range.
Yeah, like even when they're close, like the way that the tracking works sometimes, like if it's trying to like get to an enemy that is like say behind or off to the side of Ryu, it feels odd. Like it almost looks like he has to like physically like turn around, like has a turning radius or something. It's strange. And also, like, and even on top of that, I'm not the fondest of what the UT actually is, where it's just basically just like a cylinder of like slashes and wind. You know, it like that feels more appropriate for like if they gave this weapon a 360 UT, and instead gave the regular one something closer to what was in Ninja Gaiden 2, which is like a more appropriate like forward barrage of slashes. But I do like how, with this weapon, and how it gets expanded on in Ninja Gaiden 2, the fact that when you're doing air combos, you have a ton of options for ways to end them. Like, you can do an Izuna drop, you can do a downward, like, kind of spinning slash, like the Blade of Miriti, or you can, like, transfer into a flying swallow, and all kinds of shit like that. Like, I still dig, like, the concept of it. I mean...
Yeah.
I mean, as far as, like, the new content that was made for Sigma, I mean, the dual swords themselves are the least offensive.
It just... It feels... They feel really close to, like in... This is gonna be a little weird to say. Like, the concept of dual swords in this game just feels like it was already taken by the Kitetsu.
Yeah, with like some of the additional attacks and how like its basic combos do more regular hits. So yes, this is the part where I die, because Awakened Alma, when she's on the ground here, is hellish with her forward charge. Also, like,
Jesus.
Also, if you've not noticed, like, during these survival challenge modes, like, even when the boss spawns, you still have to manually adjust your camera to keep track of them, which is annoying as hell, because there are some boss fights that move extremely fast and can be hard to, like, keep track of. Anyway, you saw the end of like the first combat of the first Weapon Master challenge. This is the second one for the Vigorian Flail. You know, it's a great opportunity for like getting high combos as always. Third one's with the Dabularo, which is of course the best weapon for when you just want to hang back, charge up a UT, and let the shockwave do the rest. It's especially handy with the pill bugs spawning during this particular phase of it because of like you barely have to get close to the ogres at all. Fourth Weapon Master involves the Lunar, and the thing that I kind of like the least about it is how occasionally you have to be mindful of the helicopter that decides to do bombing runs. I hate that thing. That was like such a dumb it's not even like the most like annoying or game breaking thing, it's just annoying. And lastly, we got the Weapon Master for the True Dragon Sword. This one is actually kind of... I was actually not prepared for how tricky it is because of like once you get a bunch of Black Spider Ninja like into the mix. For some reason in this mode, they are way more trigger happy with their incendiary shurikens. But that's it for Weapon Master. Next up is Speed Master. And this one has like a set time limit of, you know, like, let's see. I'm trying to do division off the top of my head because this game decides to like list just seconds and not seconds and minutes. But it's like somewhere like close to 10 minutes you are expected to kill as many enemies during these challenges. And the part that makes it difficult for the start is that you aren't limited to a single arena like you are in Weapon Master. The start always has you running a gauntlet to like the end of the level in which like enemies will start to spawn endlessly. Like that's the primary goal, which can make this particular map and a couple others especially infuriating because of placement of like ghoul archers or other enemies that just love to knock you off your platform.
So what's like the speed part of the speed challenge?
It's killing as many enemies before the timer runs out. And
okay.
and as I was saying, like, and that's why, like, kind of as extra pressure, you don't start in a single arena and you have to work your way to the extra arena.
Okay.
So that's kind of like how it balances itself out, because if it didn't, I imagine that there would be like if you were to look on the leaderboards, like the enemies kill count would be way closer for everyone that was playing it, because they would not have to worry about seconds lost just traveling from one spot to the other. In some ways, like because of this and how the Weapon Master challenges are designed, I almost kind of have to give Hayashi's team credit for coming up with this concept as something that puts like a bit of a wrinkle into the whole mission mode format that like you got accustomed to when it got introduced in Black. But then of course I remember that, oh wait, this thing was originally like part of the collector's edition or whatever, like pre-order bonus thing that you got with... Oh wait, no, I'm actually thinking of something else. Shit, I forgot. That was actually part of something else I forgot to mention, but I think the part that was more upsetting when you actually think about it is that this is paid DLC. And it would have been nice to, you know, have it on the actual goddamn disc.
Yeah.
But the thing I was actually thinking of that was hidden and still on the disc was like an extra category in the regular mission mode called the Unearthed Challenge. And what that was is it was an extra set of 5 missions that were part of the game's collector's edition when it came out. And like it was basically like if you had that edition, it would automatically like unlock or something. But of course, it was still on every other disc. So eventually, it was revealed actually if you just input a specific code, you can unlock this. And Unearthed Challenge is just an extra set of 5 missions that are all recycled from Black.
I kind of wish they'd have done something like not as much just giving you a massive thing of time at the beginning, but giving you a limited time, like I don't know, say like 40 seconds or something like that, and then time increases with every kill.
It's something that would be probably like closer to like what DMC4's Bloody Palace was, I would imagine, because that version of Bloody Palace has a time limit, and the idea is that depending on how quickly and how stylishly and how you're able to not get hit during each wave determines how much time that you earn from that. You know?
Okay. Yeah.
Personally,
I didn't know they did that in that.
Yeah, although I'd say personally I would not actually prefer that, just because of how, only because in my experience I am terrible at Bloody Palace and DMC4. So I kind of like this one better, where it's just trying to see just how much you can get, like, in like how much you can kill, like, in a consistent amount of time. So this one is strange. Like, when I was recording this, I was not able to get to, like, I guess the part where the enemies were actually respawning. And this one is super weird because the progression blocker is caused by these fucking rats. You have to kill the rats to progress.
Alright.
It's devious, and it's something that, like, I think people that were already doing karma runs and knew where to get extra essence would have already caught on to that trick, you know?
Yeah.
Now this one, obviously, as you remember, is from the end game, but we're not showing the rest of it because I also fell off the edge and got super pissed. This one's in the Magma Cavern, and it's the final speed challenge, as we're kind of nearing the end. Like this one and the first two Speedmaster, I believe, were like the only challenges of this that I were able to like complete with over 100 kills. And like my average between them is like between 120 and 125. It's neat. But then you get to this shit. The third that, after playing all 5 of these, I regret ever purchasing for like $3 fucking. Rachel Master is basically the Weapon Master challenges, but all of them are Rachel. That means you have to fight all these enemies, as well as the bosses that spawn at the predetermined moments. And like I said before, earlier in the video, it's not just Gamov or Ishtaros or Nikkei. Every boss fight is damn near miserable to fight as Rachel. I mean, these chumps are still fine. I mean, and that's kind of like how much I kind of don't want to show, just because all the different, like, most of the bosses that you've already seen, like the one on the airship, the first boss you fight is Doku, and he just like is like, it's futile. But the thing that at least kind of redeems some of this is the fact that when you fight these bosses early on with Rachel's weapon, they do go down quickly in just a few hits. But that just makes me all the more worried about the possibility of actually, like, trying to fight, fight for more than 100 enemies. This one, at least, is kind of an interesting idea that I wish was saved for Ryu instead, in that, like, basically at the start of this fight, you go up against the Doppelganger Ryu, whose red highlights are colored blue instead, as you saw. And and basically, like, every 20 enemies, you fight another version of the Doppelganger. And I wish that was saved for, like, a different challenge with Ryu. That would have been so much better. Like, maybe, like, a special challenge where, after killing a set number of enemies, your weapon automatically switches or something. Like, that would be an interesting idea. Like, the game literally forcing you to mix up your tactics with, like, different moves and strengths.
You know, when we were playing through it before, I never really, I understood you were saying that her moveset was fairly limited, but I never really, like, noticed how limited it was until, you were mentioning that you didn't notice how many of her combos ended in that neck slice.
Yeah. And with, like, the cinematic camera and, like, iframes attached to it. But yeah, and also one thing to say about this particular phase is that it actually combines elements of the Speedmaster challenges, in which you actually have to go from point A to point B. And this one I was not able to actually complete all the way, just because I gave up and got sick of her shit.
Can I make a joke about her getting crabs?
No, because we're done, and we got one more video after this.
Okay.
It's the final challenge. See ya.
Later.